All right, welcome back to Good Stuff. So we have already been asked several times, and we're going to go ahead and do this today. We got the Ruger-57 and we got the FN-57. So people have been asking about these two and the comparison between the two. I've had a chance to shoot both of them quite a bit, but today we're going to go over it on camera for you just a little bit. We're just going to go ahead and break these open real quick, show you what how this comes as you buy it. All right, so you got your FN and you got your Ruger. Both of them come with 20 round magazines, but the FN comes with 3, Ruger comes with 2. Both of them shoot the same caliber. And I'm just going to give you a little comparison here. Both these guns have been out for a little while. The specs are very easy to find for all of them. Just clear it, make sure it's clear. Clear. All right, so we just want to take a second to hold these up, let you guys get a really good look at these. I'm going to go ahead and set these down here in the light. And just to side by side, even when I was doing my research to look at buying these guns and to see which one I wanted to pick, stuff like that, they really didn't get much of a comparison. Nobody really took and actually put them side by side, so you could really get a real identifiable definition of what they look like. So we're just taking these and putting them right here so you guys can see them. So both of these guns have almost the same length of barrel. They're almost about the same weight. They both are single action guns fired by an internal hammer. So there's a lot of similarities here for everyone to take a look at. But some of the things that we want to show you guys on here is we just want to get out and we want to shoot them, and we want to get an opinion, a side-by-side opinion of how each one feels and how it shoots. Some of the things that we already know about these guns is that the price on these, what you're looking at about $7.99 for the Ruger, I think it's even lower than that, depending on how. But that's the MSRP, and then the MSRP for the FN is around $1,400. Okay, so it's quite a bit of a price difference. But so a lot of us are looking at certain things that we wanted to check out on here, safety placements, disconnects, things like that. So magazine safety disconnects and trigger fill. So that's what we want to jump into for you today. Some of the things that we definitely want to point out here is that the FN has a mag disconnector in it. Okay, so when you remove the magazine, the gun can't be fired. So that's one thing that we definitely want to point out. The Ruger doesn't have that, but there's a couple of things that the Ruger has that the FN does, and those are just things that we want to let you guys know the differences are. The FN has already been around for a long time. It has a lot of aftermarket support. It already has magazine extensions that take these out to 30 rounds. It already has different triggers, different barrels, different sights. It has everything that you want to order for this gun. The aftermarket already provides most of those things. So depending on how far you want to trick this out or how accurate you want to make it, the aftermarket's already there. The Ruger is a new gun, so the aftermarket support is not there for the Ruger just yet. It's coming along, but it's not here. So that's definitely one of the things that's a big ding on the Ruger, just because it's so new. One of the other cool things about the FN is the fact that the FN already has rifles or pistol caliber carbines that shoot. That use the same magazine to shoot the 5.7. You have the CMMG Banshees, and you have a couple other variants that use these magazines. So you can use this in a carbine and you can use it in your FN. So that is a big plus for the FN. The Ruger doesn't have that yet. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and load these up. We're going to take them down. I'm going to do an accuracy test up close. I'll do an accuracy test long range, and then we'll just do some general drills, and I'll just give you my impressions of what I like about each gun, just so that way you can take these and you can see which one you might want to purchase in the future. So we're going to go ahead and get loaded and get on this. All right, so here we are. We're at 7 yards. So I'm just going to do a little 7-yard accuracy, just slow fire accuracy. Shoot a nice group at 7, and then we'll do the same at 50. All right. So I'm going to start off with the FN. I'm not going to zero these in. I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to aim at my aiming point, and wherever the rounds hit, I'm just looking for group size. Okay. Get these off. All right. All right. Of course, I'm running double holster here, doing this comparison. So, go on both sides. All right. So now I'm going to go with the Ruger-57. All right. Let's put a whole bunch of rounds in there. Didn't even count how many we were doing, but just wanted to get a nice large sampling. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so just going up here off the top here. So the Ruger held a little bit tighter group, but this by no means is a purely scientific thing, because this could totally be me jerking, and most likely is. So the highest and the lowest are the part of doing the random, the large sampling that I did, is that we just want to get a quick video out to you guys to show you what we can do, or what can be done with it. So with the larger group, I can disregard some of these outliers, some of these flyers, or if the shot broke when I was taking a breath or something like that. So again, you're gonna look about a thumb size group, and here about the same thing if I'm disregarding the widest flyers on here as well. So pretty comparable right here. So at 7 yards, it looks like the Ruger held a little bit tighter group, but one of the things I can tell is that the recoil impulse on the Ruger is a little smoother. So the FN, as I'm shooting these groups, has a little more snap to it. But we're gonna go ahead and go back now, and we're gonna do another group on the target out here at 50 for a slow fire 50-yard sampling as well. All right, so we've done our 7-yard line accuracy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna step it out, we're gonna go to 50 yard, and I've got 2 targets down there. I'm gonna shoot I'm gonna shoot a 5-shot group on each target through the FN, and a 5-shot group through the Ruger, and then we'll go out a little bit further. First, I'm gonna with each gun, I'm gonna shoot 1 confirmation on some steel just to make sure I'm in the general area, because again, we're not zeroing or going through and re-zeroing these pistols. We're just going to shoot for a group size. Okay, so I'm not really necessarily worried about where it's hitting on target. I just want to get a consistent aiming point and try and turn out a small group just to see what it's capable of. Okay, so for both, we're using the FN 40 grain VMAX bullets, using the same ammunition, everything for each gun, just for a good comparison. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start off at 50 with the FN. All right. All right, so now I'm going to move on to the target. All right, so it's the FN, so now I'm going to move on to the Ruger. Same thing, I'm going to confirm it on a steel, and then I'll shoot my group on paper. All right, 5 shots each. Let's go down and take a look at our targets. All right, so here we are at 50 yards. What we did is this target was shot already by some 9mm earlier in the day, so we pasted it up, and I came back and aimed at it again. Took a confirmation on the shot on the steel just to make sure I was in the general area, so I knew I would be hitting on paper somewhere. And this was my aiming point. So with this being my aiming point, all of my impacts were up here. So I shot 4 rounds, and this is the spread at my furthest point. So just a little bit wider than my fist there. So I know that's not a mathematical thing, but I'm just going for this is just strictly a comparison. So this is what we're looking at with the FN. Over here, this was my aiming point. I consistently hit where I was aiming, but then I had a flyer up here. So this really opened up the group. The group had a nice tight group, of course, the big flyer here, so that's considerably bigger. So that is one thing that we noticed there. So we shot a bigger group with this. Not sure if that was a flyer on me or not, but I was consistently hitting around what I was aiming at. When I'm looking at this with this, my front sight, as you're lining up your front sight inside your rear sight notch and all that, front sight is really about this big. Okay, so this is about how big the front sight looks. It covers this whole thing. So the front sight's covering it. I lower it down, bring it back up to where I think it's halfway, and then I squeeze the shot. And this is pretty good for what I would want. If we took the time and adjusted these sights and brought these down to where they were hitting on the impact as well, then this would be a really good group as well. But the FN shot a tighter group at 50 yards. So we're gonna go back and we'll shoot it. We'll just take a couple shots at 100, 150. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and engage at 100 and 150. Like I said before, we're not zeroing these, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna use a little bit of Kentucky windage on this, but I just want to see if I can consistently hit at those ranges. So I know my impacts were a little high left at 50, so I'm gonna aim a little low right at 100, and we're just gonna work our way out from there. All right, so going out to 100. Hit. Hit. All right. So this is a bit of a stretch. I'm gonna go 150. Hit. Hit. All right. So I'll move on to the Ruger. Same thing. 100 yards. Hit. Hit. All right, moving on to 150. Hit. 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 All right. So comparable. They're both hitting right on. If I took a little more time, just happen to be lucky enough that the Ruger is hitting right where I'm aiming, so I don't really have to use much in the way of Kentucky windage on the Ruger. With the FN, because this is someone else's pistol, I don't want to disturb the sights that they have these set for, so I'm using Kentucky windage on this, but was still able, just using Kentucky windage, to be able to get consistent hits at 150 yards with this. So now we're going to go ahead, we're going to load up our magazines, we're going to run a couple drills, and we're going to get a feel for how the gun runs and how it is on reloads and draws and taking the safety off, things like that. So we're just going to load them up and keep on shooting. All right, so we're at about 10 yards. I'm gonna run a couple drills. I'm gonna go off the pack timer from the holster, and then I'll run a couple drills with the pack timer from a one shot, reload, and an additional shot. Okay, taking into consideration reloads, taking weapon off safe, different things, getting out of the holster, stuff like that. And we'll just compare a few times, all right? All right, just going from the holster. All right, 243. 225. 180. 180. 170. 170. All right, so I'm gonna start at the high ready, just to avoid the difference in holsters, because I'm using two different holsters, and each one has a different release mechanism. So to take that out of consideration, I'm gonna start from the high ready. I'm gonna hit the pack timer. I'm gonna fire one shot, do a reload, and then fire an additional shot, and then that'll give us the time from first shot, including reload, to the second. So what that does is that takes the difference in holsters out of the equation and just leaves the running of the gun. All right. So starting at the high ready, safety on. All right, safety back on. That was a really slow 529, that was crazy. All right, I'm gonna do it again. All right, 363, do it again. Four. All right, go ahead and download this one. Right to the holster, around go. All right, so that was right around 410. All right, so with the Ruger, has a really long grip. It's really thin, but I'm having to reposition the gun in my hand. I'm gonna have to really turn it, and that's what's really slowing my reloads down, because I can't reach it just holding it normal. So I got to turn the gun completely in my hand to be able to get it. So of course that takes however long it takes for me to camp the gun to hit the mag release, but then I have to straighten it back out and re-grip. So that's adding a lot of time to reload. So we're gonna go back, get the FN, and we'll run the same drill. All right, so we're gonna run the same drill again. I'm gonna go off the pack timer, buzzer's gonna go off, I'm gonna draw, and I'm gonna fire one round. Safety is gonna be in the on position, so I'll disengage the safety. So that will most likely cost me a little bit of time, because I'm not used to the safety that's on the FN, but I will be running a holster that I'm more familiar with. So there'll be a bit of a push there. All right. .248. 247. 268. 262. 220. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and do the same drill. I'm gonna start at the high ready, same as we did on the Ruger. I'm gonna start at the high ready, hit the timer. I'm gonna fire one round, take safety off, fire one round, reload, fire another round. From the high ready, safety on. All right, 403. Set up for it again. Okay. Safety on. .388. .365. All right, that one was kind of fumbled a little bit. That's 430. Set up again. All right, 380. All right. All the way back. All right, so we're wearing both of them. Both of them feel really good. It's a little awkward for me to run the FN just because of the safety being on the front. So I'm sweeping the safety. I haven't trained with it, so we have to give it credit for that. I have to give if I spend a lot more time on the range, I would get much more proficient at that. One thing I did find that on the FN, I was able to hit the mag release a lot easier than I was on the Ruger. The Ruger, for some reason, seems it's forward a little bit, so that would probably need something later on, maybe an additional extended mag release that brings it back just a little bit further, but it was definitely easier to hit on here. I was able to acquire my targets faster with the Ruger. It felt more intuitive to come up, hit the thumb safety off, and that may just be because I've been used to shooting 1911s and things like that. But overall, both of these guns are very similar. We just wanted to give you guys an opportunity to see these guns side by side, run side by side, and both of them, you know, just it takes a little more time and a little more practice. There is one last thing we want to go up to the table and show you on the Ruger, and we'll step up there and show you that real quick. All right, so we've had a chance to run both these guns, and they're very comparable. Everything on them, the accuracy is fairly comparable, times, things like that. There's a couple features that I like the safety better on the Ruger. The Ruger's hitting closer to the target without having to adjust sights, stuff like that, but that's all. These things are all you can compensate for with just training and spending a little time with the gun on the range. So basically what you're looking into is one, the FN has more aftermarket support right now, so a big win for the FN. It's been around for a long time. Ruger, all that stuff will be jumping on, but you'd have to wait for it. One of the biggest things that I wanted to point out after doing even more research on the Ruger is that there is one or two safety concerns with the Ruger that we wanted to point out, and it's even addressed in the manual itself. So in the manual, it says right in here, do not carry loaded because it could, if the gun is dropped or struck, it could discharge. Okay, it says it right in the manual. I heard about it, so I did a little more research on it, and basically want to demonstrate this for you real quick. So this would be a great competition gun, things like that, but this can be dropped and fired accidentally with the safety on. Now, it would take a lot of force for that to happen, but we just want to demonstrate how this works. So it doesn't have a passive safety hammer on here. So what I'm going to do is there's a little bar right here. This little bar if I push this forward, if this gets knocked forward, then that will release the hammer and let the hammer fall free to hit the firing pin and discharge the round. So this is with the weapon on fire, and this is with the weapon in safe. So if the slide was on here, and this was dropped in just the right way or with just enough force, if this were to move forward, I'm just going to go ahead and move this forward a little bit and move it towards the camera. So if this bar here that I'm prying on right here, if this were to get knocked forward, you can see that, I'm sorry, let me get this in here. I'm just trying not to cut myself with this sharp knife. If this is moved forward a little bit, the hammer can fall forward. Okay, so this little bar right here, if this is hit with enough force that this moves forward, what it will do is it will release the hammer, and the hammer can go forward, and the gun can fire. Now, to not panic on that too much, once this is all back and under spring tension, this takes quite a bit of force. I can't push it with my finger, without bending my fingernail back really hard, but I can push in there and I can pry on it really hard, and I can get that to go forward. So this would take a very large amount of force. But could it happen? Absolutely, it could happen. It could fall off a second story or something like that. You could be going up steps and it could fall and bounce down a flight of steps. I mean, whatever can go wrong most likely will go wrong. But that's one thing that we wanted to point out to you with this Ruger, and it's one thing that's been brought to our attention and one thing that we wanted to look into and pass on to you. So this may not be something that you would want to carry as a carry gun daily, but for competition, hunting purposes, anything like that, I think it's a great option because you're going to be carrying it in a proper holster, and there's less likely a chance of you dropping this in a day-to-day operation. But we just wanted to give you guys a quick video on this because it's been requested, and these two guns, and with the Ruger just coming out and being hot right now, so we just wanted to give you guys a comparison and let you decide for yourself. We'll see you next time on Gun Stuff.